We now move to the annual address, and I have the privilege of introducing to you the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, Premier of the Cayman Islands, and Minister for Human Resources, Immigration and Community Affairs. He serves as leader of the People's Progressive Movement, of which he is a founding member. For his contribution to constitutional development in Cayman, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II awarded him the MB in the Queen's Birthday Honors Celebration in 2010. He's an attorney of 25 years standing. Our Premier remains passionate about the need to improve education in the Cayman Islands and to produce young people who are creative and innovative, people who are problem solvers and thinkers, who possess the skills and abilities which are locally relevant and globally competitive. He's the first Premier to serve consecutive terms in the Cayman Islands, with his re-election in May 2017. He and his wife, Kim, have 2 sons, Dagan and Kalen. He's an avid reader, cyclist, and farmer. Let us make welcome, with hearty applause, the Premier of the Cayman Islands as he comes to present the annual address. The Premier.
Thank you, Jackie. Good morning, everyone. I think we already know who all the important people here are, so I will dispense with protocol, except to mention the presence of the Honorable Speaker, the Honorable McKeeva Bush, and to acknowledge the team from the Ministry of Finance, who are so very important to us all, and my Chief Officer in the Ministry of Human Resources, Immigration, and Immigration. I think my ministers have been acknowledged. It's good to be back at the Fidelity Cayman Economic Outlook. A warm Caymanian welcome to all, especially to our guest speakers who have come to share their views with us. I do look forward to your perspectives on this year's theme. Indeed, I mentioned today's theme to a friend from the UK while I was preparing this speech. And he asked me if it was about Trump and Brexit. Maybe, I said. And then I asked him for his views on both. He says, you know, I like Trump. He's funny. But I hate Brexit. I asked why. I voted to remain, he said firmly, not for political reasons, but because my wife's mom moved to Spain, and I wanted her to stay there. Now she's moving back in with us. In that weird way of mine, I quietly wondered whether this was an example of family integration or disintegration. The theme of this year's conference, Global Integration or Disintegration, Surviving the Challenge, is an interesting one. My good friend, the CEO of Fidelity, Brett Hill, is reported as having said, and I quote, "Our global foundation has shifted, and political unrest continues to cause organizations to question their role in today's global economy and how they can adapt. From currency and financial structures to environmental and social impacts, change is on the horizon." Brett, I entirely agree. Political disruption is a change agent, as is technology, and the pace of change is increasing year on year. I suspect, though, that most of us do not fully appreciate how much change is actually occurring. Most people rarely move outside their own circles, and unless they have a specific interest in technology or attend conferences such as this, Change can take them by surprise. So yes, businesses as well as governments must pay attention to changing circumstances and should constantly question their roles in changing environments. They cannot afford to be surprised by change. If you doubt me, just ask the folk at Kodak. Business must learn to adapt in order to survive and remain relevant. So must those of us who govern. The competition will not stand by and wait. If you do not remain relevant, then clients or indeed voters will look elsewhere. Consider this. The first iPhone was introduced in 2007 and the first iPad in 2010. Blockchain technology was conceptualized in 2008 and implemented in 2009. These smart devices and the technology that continues to change the way we work and live have been in existence for 10 years or less. To be trite, the only constant is change. And when the environment changes, an organism has three options: adapt, flee, or die. In the political sphere, the rise in populism throughout the world is an exciting or worrying trend, depending on your perspective. But we ignore the people seeking solutions to their grievances through populist causes at our peril. Their reasons are complex and cannot be put down to merely xenophobia or racism, though undoubtedly these are partly to blame. There are nationals in some countries, including these islands, that feel overwhelmed by the pace of change, including the effect of rising immigration. But there are also many communities, whether in the American Rust Belt or the UK's industrial north, where factories, mills, mines, or shipyards have closed, and where working people who were once able to make a good living and raise their families are struggling to survive. A working class that traditionally voted either left of center or right of center is now drawn to extreme right-wing or left-wing political groups, many with anti-immigrant or anti-business sentiments. To quote the director of the London School of Economics, Ms. Shafiq, "It's no accident that the people who voted for populist parties around the world are people with, by and large, low levels of education. It is not because they are stupid, it's because they're smart. They've figured out that the current system will not be in their favor." Unquote. Feeling let down and forgotten by traditional and more moderate politicians and political parties, the alienated seek an alternative that promises radical change and improved circumstances. Much of their feeling of disenfranchisement has not happened overnight. Instead, it has festered over decades and is now finally being given voice. If you live anywhere long enough, you will hear and see people who feel disenfranchised. Even with an economy as strong as Germany's, Chancellor Angela Merkel at Davos recently pointed to concerns when she noted, and I'm quoting, "Frankly speaking, the country I have the honor to represent and where I am Chancellor has difficulties. And polarization is something that we see in our country as well, which we haven't had for decades," unquote. You will also find evidence of this disquiet in these Cayman Islands. It is not rampant by any means, but it is most definitely here. So I can commiserate with Chancellor Merkel. Cayman's economy has been described by renowned Caribbean economist Marla Ducaran as the best-run economy in the Caribbean, with a government that is committed to reducing debt rather than borrowing, and to producing surplus budgets without raising taxes. With GDP growth in 2017 at a respectable 2.4%, in line with growth in the USA, and expected to rise to 2.8% this year, and an economy that has seen falling rates of Caymanian unemployment at 6.2% at the last survey, and low inflation. This is indeed an economy worth celebrating. But even in an economy as robust as ours, there are Caymanians who feel left behind, and we must not ignore them. Indeed, neither government nor business can afford to ignore them. Government must play its part to equip Caymanians for the jobs of today, and must also work with the business sector to understand the needs for the jobs of the future, and to determine how best to equip our education system to prepare Caymanians for those jobs. My government will continue to work with the private sector to create an environment that enables business growth and that attracts investment. But in a growing economy, it is the role of the business sector to create those jobs and to provide Caymanians with opportunities for employment. And not just employment, but opportunities for training and advancement as well. This has been the partnership and formula that has for over 6 decades built this unique Caymanian environment where our families and our businesses can flourish. It has been the private sector and government working together that transformed the Cayman Islands with a population of less than 8,000 people in 1960 from a village economy based on farming and fishing and remittances from seamen to one where world-class tourism and financial services provide a strong foundation for a diverse, modern economy that is the best in the region. Today, we have a high standard of living coupled with a business-friendly environment, excellent infrastructure, a cosmopolitan atmosphere, and a population that has grown to some 65,000 people, including people from over 130 countries, all living in relative harmony. It is up to us, government and business leaders, to ensure that we keep it that way so that investors and expatriate workers continue to feel welcome and no Caymanian feels marginalized. It is important that we get this right today so that we have a better chance of coping with the disruptions of the future as the pace of change increases. As you will no doubt hear throughout this conference, advances in technology continue to disrupt businesses, economies, and impact social norms. Artificial intelligence, driverless cars, renewable energy, automation and robotics, 3D printing, the fintech movement, blockchain technology, and much more bring with them both excitement and worry about our future. From taxi and truck drivers to healthcare professionals, from construction workers to bankers, technology will increasingly put more jobs at risk. As was discussed at Davos recently, a World Economic Forum report on the future of jobs estimates that by 2026, some 1.4 million jobs in the United States alone are vulnerable because of disruption from technology and other factors. And of these jobs, some 57% will likely be held by women. Complicating things, the speed of change will make it unlikely that sufficient numbers of people will be retrained or reskilled quickly enough to find employment. And for some, when they do rejoin the job market, they may find that their new income does not match what they previously earned. We have seen some of this in the aftermath of the 2008 recession, when companies closed or downsized or cut wages and benefits, including employee training. As the economy expanded again and people found jobs, many re-entered the workplace earning less. All of this has exacerbated a middle-class crisis with wages stagnating and cost of living increasing. We have certainly seen this phenomenon here in Cayman following the recession, with unemployment amongst Caymanians rising to 11% by 2011. Whilst unemployment has been almost halved over the last 6 years, there are still qualified and experienced Caymanians unable to find employment. This, in an economy as robust as ours, and that includes over 25,000 persons on work permits, about 45% of the workforce. The increasing level of work permits is not only a further indication of a growing economy, but it is also an indication that government has been willing to work with the business sector to enable them to hire overseas personnel, provided suitable Caymanians are not available. After all, Cayman's economy is founded on the strong entrepreneurial spirit of Caymanians and our willingness to embrace the economic and social contributions of the expatriate community. Our continued success as a country requires the continuation of both these factors. But we, government and private sector, must ensure that Caymanians are given opportunities to fully participate at all levels in the economic success of our country. This includes opportunities for training to allow Caymanians to advance within organizations. To do otherwise is to fail to understand the lessons of our history and to risk undermining our future prosperity and the future of the Caymanian middle class. Most businesses understand this and do what is right regarding the training and advancement of Caymanians. But frankly, there are some businesses that do not. Some may claim this does not happen, but it does. We see it on many levels. We hear the stories from our constituents, our family members, and often from those who sit on the immigration boards. We also see it in the manner in which some jobs are advertised. So as I have indicated previously, government is moving to close loopholes in the regulations concerning the advertising of jobs to ensure that there is a fair playing field for Caymanians and residents alike. This includes insisting that jobs must be advertised locally before being advertised overseas, and that overseas job advertisements must mirror those published locally. We cannot continue to allow a situation where a low salary with few benefits is advertised in Cayman, whilst a more advantageous salary and benefits package for the same post is advertised overseas. Additionally, there are few reasons why advertised jobs should not state the name of the actual business that will serve as the employer. So we will look to make this change as well. And we will also look again at the role of employment agencies and their negative impact on the employment of Caymanians. Finally, to ensure that qualified and experienced Caymanians are not being wrongly overlooked for promotion, we will strengthen the business staffing plan regime to ensure that commitments given by employers with respect to the hiring, training, and promotion of Caymanian employees are actually being fulfilled. As I recently stated at the Chamber of Commerce Legislative Luncheon, the Caymanian success story has been built on the implicit understanding that Caymanians must have a real opportunity to participate in and benefit from our economic growth. This is the Cayman economic contract that created the success from which we now all benefit. And for us to continue to benefit, it must mean that we continue to accept both sides of that contract, the opportunities and the obligations that exist between wealth creators and our people. This is why at the Chamber Luncheon, I committed on behalf of my government that by the end of this term, we seek to have full Caymanian employment. The Chamber President has recently said, we cannot have zero unemployment as there's no such thing on any planet, and that anyone promising 0% unemployment is simply playing politics. I wish to reassure the Chamber President, I am not playing politics or playing at all. I am very serious about my government's determination to give every Caymanian who is willing, able, and qualified to work the opportunity to do so. I trust we can rely on the Chamber to help us achieve that goal. In this new era of disruption, both government and the private sector need to ensure that the workforce is geared up and ready to operate in these new paradigms. This is not a responsibility to be carried by government or the private sector alone. It must be in partnership for us to have a chance of succeeding. I am happy, therefore, that the important issue of the future of work was recognized and discussed at the World Economic Summit in Davos recently, and that tech companies specifically and businesses generally understand what is at stake and have committed to work towards solutions that must take into consideration changing needs of our education and skills training models. I look forward to similar conversations continuing on our shores. You will certainly continue to hear my voice on this issue. With those cautionary words, the fact is that the impact brought about by changing technology is relentless. So we must grasp the opportunities they bring while seeking to avoid the pitfalls. Cayman is adapting and not just surviving, but thriving in this new era of widespread disruption. Changes in healthcare technology, for example, provide tremendous opportunities for better diagnoses and improved health outcomes. They also present new opportunities for skilled jobs. Here in Grand Cayman, we are blessed to have a medical robot at the Georgetown Hospital that can assist local doctors to connect with overseas specialists to treat serious medical conditions and save lives. And I'm happy to report that it is helping to save lives. Health City, Cayman Islands in East End, is another local example where experienced professional medical staff utilize some of the most modern technology to not only get sick people well, but to reduce the cost of medical care. They are the first hospital in the English-speaking Caribbean to use robotic navigation for joint replacements, the first to install hearts, and much more. And Health City is also making a significant difference to healthcare provided in our region. While advances in technology are making a real difference to healthcare in these islands, it is also starting to reshape the face of financial services and creating new business opportunities for our jurisdiction. This past Monday, I welcomed attendees and visitors at a conference on the decentralization of market segments, particularly regarding financial technology and blockchain. The financial technology sector is rapidly growing and is set to change the face of finance and business. So much so that traditional financial service firms are already getting involved. According to KPMG, investment in the fintech space has exploded, and global fintech investment in the first 3 quarters of last year alone was an impressive $21 billion US. At the individual level, Bitcoin and other decentralized currencies are being embraced by millions of people across the world, and cryptocurrency is being used for commerce as well as investment. This is an indication that consumers in large numbers, despite some challenges, are increasingly willing to adopt these non-traditional currencies for value exchange. The presenters and business owners at Monday's conference certainly provided food for thought. From a business that used blockchain technology to connect home and appliance repairmen with consumers, to a company that utilized blockchain to enable individuals to monetize the knowledge and experiences that they share on social platforms. These examples will hopefully give those of you who, like me, are new to this technology a small idea of the possibilities for Caymanians to become a new breed of entrepreneur. In conversations following the conference, I was pleased to learn that several of the presenters and entrepreneurs have already incorporated their businesses in the Cayman Islands. And the Cayman Islands is said to be amongst the top 3 jurisdictions for blockchain entrepreneurs to form their companies. Not only is our experience in financial services a plus, but our cadre of professional people serving the financial services sector is second to none. In addition, our use of English common law, modern intellectual property laws, tax neutrality, and a business-friendly government are all attractive assets. Of course, when you mix in our excellent weather, relaxed cosmopolitan lifestyle, and warm people, then in my view, we have an unbeatable combination. In summary, all of the things that make us an attractive jurisdiction for conventional financial services businesses also serve us well in attracting financial technology businesses and other types of businesses in the tech space. I am told that there are as many as 60 blockchain-related businesses that have incorporated in Cayman over the course of the past year. And after Monday's conference, several others are planning to join in. There is very good potential then for this type of business to blossom and to further diversify our economy and provide future opportunities for Caymanian employment and entrepreneurship. I see from your agenda that blockchain and cryptocurrencies will be one of your interesting topics later today. I hope to have an opportunity to hear the presentation and to learn more. Conventional financial services in this jurisdiction continue to do well, with Cayman remaining the jurisdiction of choice for hedge fund registration. Our main challenge going forward is to protect the business that we now have and to prepare ourselves to take advantage of emerging trends. Everyone in this room will know that for many years, the Cayman Islands has had to contend with the Hollywood image of a jurisdiction of numbered bank accounts and bank secrecy. But nothing could be further from the truth. We have signed over 30 tax treaties and participate in various automatic exchanges of information regarding tax matters, including US and UK FATCA. But despite this, as we pass each test, the game is changed, and so we fight on. Despite the fact that reputable organizations such as the OECD have confirmed that the Cayman Islands is highly compliant with international regulations, putting us in the league of countries such as Germany, Canada, and the United Kingdom, we continue to be wrongly attacked by NGOs such as the Tax Justice Network. In its most recent report, published just this past Tuesday, Tax Justice Network has amazingly ranked the Cayman Islands as the 3rd most secretive jurisdiction in the world, with the USA at number 2 and Switzerland at number 1. Yet China is ranked 28 and Russia 29. Really? Go figure. Surely no report with these rankings can be credible. Another recent challenge was the initiative by EU finance ministers to review some 60 countries over a short period of time to determine which ones would be classed as non-cooperative and placed on a blacklist. I was heartened when we traveled to Brussels to meet with several EU politicos and technocrats to hear everyone acknowledged where we are regarding cooperation on tax and other matters. They were all very complimentary. But they still had a hard time understanding how it is that we have no form of direct taxation, yet are able to operate a modern economy and government. For some, this seemed to indicate that something must be wrong. As we indicated to them, we pay quite a bit of taxes here, just different kinds, albeit none of them are direct. And so whilst we were not blacklisted, we all know the Minister, myself, and the team, that the fight continues to ensure that politicians in the European Union better understand our business model. Whatever one may think of President Trump's early morning tweets, there is one thing I believe he has gotten absolutely right. Excessive levels of taxation stifle economic growth. And despite the contrary views that prevail in the EU and left-leaning organizations such as the Tax Justice Network, no country will ever tax its way to prosperity. I also appreciate that small territories such as the Cayman Islands can seem easy scapegoats for failed politicians in larger countries whose tax policies have negatively impacted their economies and the prospects of their people. Despite these challenges, our financial services sector continues to perform well, contributing about 55% of our GDP, and it will continue to be a major contributor to our economy for decades to come. Future success, however, will require our financial services industry to continue to do what it does best, to innovate and develop new products to attract businesses and investments to these islands. I know, for example, that industry will maintain its efforts to attract reinsurance business here, and as I've already mentioned, things are very positive in the emerging financial technologies space. Our tourism sector is strong, with over 418,000 stayover visitors and 1.7 million cruise passengers last year. And this year is shaping up to be even better. So if you are visiting us for the first time, we look forward to welcoming you back again next year. And when you return, you will find a newly upgraded Owen Roberts International Airport. And hopefully, the majority of the major roadworks now underway will also be completed. These, along with other major infrastructure projects, such as cruise and cargo ports, a modern waste management facility that includes a waste-to-energy plant, educational and medical facilities, are all part of this government's plans that not only improve the lives of our citizens, but support growth in our business sector. An obvious indicator of a strong economy can be seen with a buoyant development sector. That sector has been performing extremely well, with 1,156 planning applications approved last year with a value of $799 million, including 3 new hotel projects. This compares to 971 applications in 2016 with a value of $407 million. So my good friend Brett, if the question is, will our 3 small islands be able to adapt and maintain a relevance in a world of ever-increasing change? My answer is a resounding yes. There will continue to be challenges, but conferences like this not only highlight the opportunities, but also shine a light on potential issues, hopefully starting a dialogue on the challenges and possible solutions. These Cayman Islands have met many challenges in the past, and we have grown from strength to strength because we are agile and innovative and have been able to adapt our business model as needs require. In my view, there is little that the Cayman private sector and the Cayman Islands government cannot achieve if we continue to work together as partners. In a world of ever-increasing disruptive forces, it is undeniable that there are events that we do not yet know how they will play out, or indeed how Cayman will be impacted. The election of President Trump and the Brexit referendum are just 2. But we need only look back to other times of shifting global power and political change to appreciate that it was our ability to work together, private sector and government, that allowed us to adapt and chart our own way and to develop one of the most sophisticated economies in our region. I close by saying that it was heartening to hear from a group of tech business people earlier this week. I call them the blockchain gang. Many the age of my sons, that what has made Cayman an attractive place to visit, do business, and live these past 6 decades is still attractive to a new breed of entrepreneurs who are changing the face of business. This, coupled with the continued growth in our key pillars of financial services and tourism, says much for our ability to continue to innovate and attract business and to grow. As I noted at the recent Chamber of Commerce Legislative Luncheon, it is strong leadership, fiscal responsibility, and private sector-led growth that has underpinned Cayman's success story. But it is people, all of you in this room who work or do business in Cayman, along with those in the public sector and the Caymanian people, that ultimately are responsible for our success. I am immensely proud of what we have achieved together. I cannot wait to see how much more together we can accomplish. I thank Fidelity for inviting me to speak here this morning and congratulate them on 15 years of a first-class conference. I am saddened, like many of the rest of you are, I am certain, at the forced absence of the creator of this conference, Anwar Sundarik. I can never say his name. As the result of illness. Our thoughts and our prayers are with him, and I wish to acknowledge the attendance of his daughter, Farah, with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for being such an attentive audience. Please enjoy the rest of the conference, and if you are visiting, I trust that you get an opportunity to experience more of what makes us these beautiful Cayman Islands. I thank you.